How's everyone doing? This is my quick review of the Galaxy S6 Active. I am using an LG G4 as my camcorder today. Go ahead and show you the back of the white camo. This is not actual metal. This is just a thicker plastic. You have your 16 megapixel camera, heartbeat sensor and flash, exact same as the Galaxy S6. Rear mounted speaker. 3 home buttons here on the, not home buttons, physical keys on the front. You have your 5 megapixel camera, just as the S6. As far as specs go, this phone is identical to the Galaxy S6 in every way, except for the battery. The battery is 950 milliamps bigger, and this really does make a difference in day-to-day usage. On the side, you have your active key and volume rockers, a nice ribbed side that goes along the entire perimeter of the phone. I feel that this helps greatly with the grip. Another thing to consider if you had the S4 Active or S5 Active is Samsung decided to ditch the flap on the micro USB. There's also no flap on the headphone jack. Now, a lot of people looking at this phone are probably looking at the Galaxy S6, the Galaxy S6 Edge, or the LG G4. Personally, I purchased the Galaxy S6 when it was available in the 64 gig because I was worried about storage. I then began filling that with storage, which isn't hard to do. So I then decided to switch to the LG G4 based upon the battery life on the S6. I had the G4, and great phone. I had some issues with touch responsiveness, camera lag, and battery life was not quite on par with what I was expecting. So when I saw this was announced, I had the S4 Active and I thought it seemed like a great go. So I went to the store, picked it up. This is now my 3rd day with this phone, and I feel I'm ready to give a good opinion on the device. So looking at the front of the phone, you will notice it has some pretty hefty bezels. See compared to my thumb. This is definitely something you have to get used to coming from a phone like the LG G4, which is nearly bezel-less. A lot of you are probably on an S4 if you're on a normal upgrade cycle. Here's the Galaxy S4 for size comparison. You can see the phone is really not that much bigger. About the same thickness. As far as moving from the Galaxy S4, this is a definite go as far as upgrading from that. Even upgrading from last year's Galaxy S5, I would certainly consider, as the camera, battery, and build are substantial leaps and bounds above previous generation. Now you have your double tap of the home button to open your camera still. And as a lot of people have pointed out, you do have Aqua mode, which disables the touchscreen, and you use the active key here on the left-hand side of the phone to take pictures. You can give it a long press, one press to take a picture, long press to start video, or not. I believe that can be customized under the settings. Now, it also has the exact same camera as the Galaxy S6, quick to focus. The big question people are asking about this phone is the battery life. Go into system settings, open battery. Now, I've been using this phone pretty aggressively the past 6 hours and 5 minutes. 3 hours of screen time, and I'm down 58% battery, which I'll be honest isn't great. However, I've been editing videos, uploading videos to Dropbox, YouTube, downloading pictures, playing games, so fairly aggressive usage. Can open GSAM, had LTE the entire time. I leave my Bluetooth on, NFC I leave on. I turn off location unless I need it. Another great feature I love about this phone that was not on the S6 is touch sensitivity. Now what this does is allows you to use gloves when you're operating the device, which I actually have a glove with me. Now I have my nice woolly glove on. As you can see, I get no responsiveness out of the screen with that setting turned off. And I pause it. Now with this setting enabled, I'm able to control the device, which if you're like me, you work outside, you have gloves on sometimes. Great feature to have. You don't have to waste time taking off your gloves. Another big complaint I hear about this device is storage. Now, for a lot of people, 32 gigs may not be enough, which I thought this was the case for me. However, after going through, clearing out unnecessary files, putting them on a hard drive, I have all my music, which is 1,500 songs. I think that's plenty for most people. Have that. I have my apps all installed, and I still have a nice 9 gigs available. Now, out of this box, you'll have about 23 gigabytes of storage available to the user, which I have found more than adequate. Another thing I mentioned earlier is the speaker is on the back. Now, for a lot of people, that's going to be a big inconvenience. I know I was happy to see the S6 put the speaker on the bottom. However, I would have wished for front-facing speakers, but we can't get everything we want in a phone, unfortunately. The quality through this speaker is not bad at all. Now when you put it in your hand, if you're right-handed or left-handed, either way your hand is going to block the speaker, so that kind of creates some distortion there, which could eventually become a problem. Now, how does this phone feel in the hand? Like I kind of mentioned earlier, these grooves make for a very sturdy feeling. The phone it's not thin, but at the same time, for the size battery and features it has, it's a really good dimension. Physically in the hand, I can reach all corners of the phone effortlessly. Now, like I said, it's slightly smaller than the S4, which I can also reach easily. Now, if you're coming from a phone like this, the S4, the S6, it's slippery. There's not really much to grip onto. You kind of got to grab onto that phone like that. And with this, there's no rough edges on the phone. It's all smoothed and rounded out, which makes for a very pleasant feel in the hand. Another thing about this phone to consider, you might ask, is who's this phone for? I myself, I do a lot of landscaping when I'm as a side job, so I'm outside a lot. I enjoy off-roading, so I'm quite often around mud, puddles, stuff like that. I live off of a lake, so I'm often in the water. I go out on my boat, so I'm by the water. I do a lot of fishing. You know, your phone kind of gets nasty. It's nice to be able to just wipe it off, wash it off, no problem. If you're more of just a klutz type of person, this phone is not drop proof. It is rated up to 4 feet, which may work, it may not. That's kind of test that at your own leisure. I do believe this will stand up to a drop better than, say, the G4 or the S6. As far as the waterproofing goes, as with the S4 Active, I am 100% confident in this phone's ability to live up to Samsung's claims, which I will be throwing in some videos, probably here at the end, to show you some water torture with this device. As far as leaving it in rain, I had a guy on Android Central Forum ask me to take in the water in the lake, try to get some video of fish. I'm going to try doing that tomorrow. Another thing I want to note on this phone is the active key. I know a lot of people talk about it, but don't really go into depth with it. So you press your active key, it brings up things like weather, barometer, S-Health, compass, your flashlight, stopwatch. And a really cool feature that I appreciate from Samsung is if you use Milk Music, you can use this to customize a station based on your activity. So if you're walking, it brings up music based on you're running. So it brings things based up on what your activity is, which I think is a pretty cool idea and a nice way to discover music. For your active key, you can customize the active key. You can customize your short press. You can assign it to any app you'd like. You can do the same for a long press. And you can allow or disallow for the active key on the lock screen. Now, another thing to think about with this phone is due to these hard keys, there is no fingerprint scanner. That's another thing that some people may not appreciate. One last thing I want to touch on with this phone is if you are the outdoors type, then you're going to appreciate the screen brightness. Now, it'll kick up to a certain amount of nits when you have it on manually adjusted to 100% brightness. But say you're using this phone outside, you got it on auto mode. If the phone wants to, it can kick up the brightness a lot, which I have not had a phone where I can comfortably use this phone, or a phone, outside in direct sunlight, which, again, working outside is a big problem, is trying to see your phone screen. No worries here with this phone. And this has been my quick overlook of the Galaxy S6 Active. If you have any questions, any videos you want to see, feel free to ask. I would be more than happy to make a video for you. And I will throw some water torture videos up here shortly.